welcome again to God Talk. I don't know what you watched before me or after me, but I'm thankful you're with me now. So wherever you are, if you're in your apartment or home watching or on a computer somewhere, I'm just glad you're with me in LLBN and God Talk. This is our deal. We talk about God and the character of God. Big issue today on the issue of blessing. Where is the character of God and blessing? It's an old story that I've used in preaching over the years, but I put a little different spin on it. My sons are now 26 and 28 years old. They're home, and we're going to go to Hawaii here this week. So it's nice to have them home. One teaches back in Arizona in our school there. But when they were little, Hilda had them more than me because I was out working. She was home with them, and she would sit on the couch and read to them, cuddle with them. So she's winning this parenting battle. So I thought, okay, this year I am going to be the parent of the year. So I'm taking them to IHOP for breakfast and Dodger games. I'm going to win parent of the year this year. Little parable I'm trying to tell you here. And we end up at a Sunday in San Francisco. I was speaking up north, and we had a day free. So we drive down to San Francisco, and we thought, let me go show them what Ghirardelli Square and chocolate ice cream is all about. So I used to go down there from college. Anyway, we parked a long ways away. It's Sunday afternoon. The whole world is there. By the time we get to where the ice cream is, there's a line out in the sun a long ways. There's an hour line at least. So there's a fountain, and there's some live music. And so I said to Hilda, you and the boys sit here. I will stand in line. I'm going for parent of the year, remember. So I stand in line for an hour. I finally get to the front of the line, and I order 2 chocolate cones for the boys. And we got a sundae for Hilda and I to split. They brought it to us and put a little carton. I paid the $15, whatever it was. This is how many, 25 years ago? And I pick up that business, and I turn. But I turned a little too quick, and those cones were so top-heavy with ice cream that they flipped out and landed ice cream down on the cement. In about a split second, I had to make some decisions here. I did not want to stand in line for another hour, get new ice cream. Neither did I want to pay the $15 again. Neither did I want to go somewhere in the back and find a way to get a rag and come and wipe all this mess up. So I just grabbed that ice cream cone, stuck it back on the ice cone, and gave it to those boys, and did not tell them where their ice cream had been. So we're eating away. I have my little secret until Hilda pops up with, boys, I saw Dad drop those cones on the cement before he gave them to you. This is a parable, right? Yeah. So you can guess how the boys felt about that. Dad, is that true, Dad? Did you do that, Dad? And my question is, should what I did have anything to do with getting parent of the year? Should my performance, should my behavior have anything to do with whether they grant me being parent of the year? Or should they just give that to me? And that's the question. Should the blessing of God have anything to do with what we do? We know that we are saved apart from works. But the question today is, does God bless you apart from works, or does he bless you based upon what you do? In the rest of our world, smart people who work hard get better grades. People who work harder make more money. That's the deal. You work harder and you're better at sports, you're going to get to play and you'll get to be in the All-Star game. It's tied to your performance, and the blessings come from your performance. As good karma, good things come to those who do good. Every religion has some version of that. Don't we believe that Christians should win the lottery? Over in the Philippines, There was a fish farm, and at the end of a typhoon, all the fish had flowed out of their cages there, their pens, and ended up in the Adventist fish farm. People said, because he paid tithe, he got everybody else's fish. Is that the way it's supposed to be? If you do good, then God will bless you, and your stock will go higher than everybody else's, and your car will last longer, and you will get blessed because you were good. Karma. We were in Thailand on a mission trip when they sold our school and property in Singapore and reinvested it in property in Thailand. And while that money was in transition, the Thai baht devalued. I was there. And what was $10 million worth was able to buy $20 million. And they were able to put up a campus with buildings and houses and all of it. That's just, wow, really nice. Why can't it be like that? God's blessing you. We're God's people. Then bless us. You hear these stories. Adventist lady in Holland on her way to Ukraine or somewhere for a conference. One of those planes that got shot down over Ukraine. She decided at the last minute not to go because it was going to travel a few hours over the Sabbath. Didn't want to travel on the Sabbath, she canceled her ticket. Plane gets shot down. God saved her because she honored his Sabbath and followed the rules. What do you think? There was a little girl in Detroit. Plane got shot down in Detroit. One little 4-year-old girl survived. They call it the miracle girl. Out of the whole plane, 4-year-old girl got survived. Because she was good. The same week, lightning hit a church in York, England. And people said it's because the pastor had quit believing in the resurrection of Jesus. Did God save the little girl because she was good and destroy the steeple of the church because the pastor was bad? Karma. Good things happen to the good people and bad things happen to the bad people. That's what we expect. 1994, in Brazil, they were going to have a huge youth congress in a church. Or not in a church, but in a stadium. The day before, the stadium caved in. If it had happened a day later, 15,000 people would have been killed, Adventist young people. Did God do a miracle? Save 15,000 people, have the roof crash a day earlier? Same time in Rwanda, 1994, 1 million people are killed in 90 days. Good people. Does it fit? Day after my father died, my father's walking on a sidewalk and a truck comes along and kills him on a sidewalk. 10 feet this way, 10 feet that way, maybe it misses him. A second or two either way. Man called me the next day and said, Pastor Dan, where was the hedge? Should have been a hedge, God. Supposed to be a hedge around. If you pay tithe and if you're a good person, you're a pastor and you're a missionary and you do good to people, there should be a hedge. Are the blessings of God in any way correlated to your performance? God makes people mad when he seems to bless the other side. David had the battle with the Saul. He's fighting. He's supposed to be the king, and he's out in the wilderness instead. He's been anointed to be the king. Saul won't give it up. And David is out in the mountains running and running and running away from God's king. He comes back to his village, and the Philistines have destroyed the village, or somebody. All the women and children are gone. And his own people start to pick up the stones to throw at him. And David cries out to God. Come on, God. Why are you blessing the wicked? We are your people. We carry your name. We are your covenant people. You made promises to us. Where is it? Watch the video, God on Trial someday in Auschwitz. Jewish prisoners put God on trial. We're your covenant people, so be blessing us. How can this be happening? Job. Job loses all his children and all his animals and all his riches, and he's lying there covered with boils. And Job says to God, in Job chapter 10, verse 2, "Why do you oppress me? Why are you blessing the wicked? Why are you smiling on the wicked and oppressing me? I've been righteous. I followed your rules. I'm the number one following you. And you wipe me out and bless them. Something's wrong here, God. It's not the way." Mozart and his competitor, what's his name? Scaleri? Scaleri has no talent, but he's absolutely obedient to God. Mozart is bohemian lifestyle, living terrible lifestyle, and yet has unbelievable talent. And Scaleri just said, "God, something is wrong. You've got the wires crossed here. Bless me. Give me these oratorios and great music. Why are you blessing this person like this? Something's wrong." And Jesus' disciples say, "What about us? We followed you. We gave up everything to follow you. What are you going to do for us?" I have a little girl that had decided a few months ago she was going to be an atheist. She's baptized now, all right? She came up, we had all the baptisms come up Sabbath, and she hugged me, and she's terrific. But she had a little episode there where she was praying for things, and it wasn't working. And she thought, if you pray, it should happen. If you pray, God come in your life. You should be able to feel when God is in your life. She says, "I don't feel anything. I don't think he's there. Maybe there isn't a God," told her mother. We go to the government. We give the government gifts. We assume that if we give more gifts, maybe they'll be better to us. Give us more permits, give us our land, give us freedom, give us whatever. And that assumption, if you do something for someone, this should bring back to you. And one person in the Bible said, "God, if you'll just win this battle for me, I'll give you my daughter. If I do this for you, you do this for me. If you do good, God will bless you more." There's a few problems with this, as you can guess. God doesn't want us to crack the code. If we could just find the right key, the right things, and the right bumps on the key, and unlock the tumblers in the lock, then God will dance to our tune. And we will be able to control and manipulate God because we figured it out. Give this money, say these words, give these acts, build that building, be nice to those people, whatever it is, and God will perform for you and bless you. God doesn't want that to be the mix. Number one, God wants you to be with him for him, not for the tricks. Just to go back to an illustration I've used another week. I had a young man who has some deficit, but he was mainstreaming back in college. I'm really proud of him. He had to write a paper for his, I think, an English class or a writing class, or maybe a speech. I forget. Maybe it was a speech. Came to me, and he had a whole set of questions, and he had these questions. How does prayer work, and what kind of prayer can you pray so that God will do this? And we were talking about it all. We got to this issue. How can you make sure that God will do what you want? Why doesn't God do more? And I said to him, the same illustration I'd used with this little girl. If you're a boy and you're dating a girl and you have $3, so you take her to get an ice cream cone and she chooses a certain kind of ice cream and she thinks that was great, so you say, okay, that worked good, I'll do that again tomorrow. So you go here. And 50 days in a row, you buy her a $3 ice cream cone and she's happy every day. Until the 51st day when you don't have any money and you don't get paid till Friday. And so you say to the girl, is it okay, I don't have any money today, let's go walk in the park, I'd like to be with you, and I'll get you ice cream next Friday. And she says, no ice cream today? No. Well, that's it then, forget it. And she breaks up and walks away. What do you know? She wasn't in this relationship for you, to be with you, she was in the relationship for the ice cream. I said, Jesus feels the same. if he knows that you're only in here to get the tricks and get the magic and get blessings and do things for you, then he knows that it's not for him. And he wants to know that you want to be with him for him. So he has to be careful where he pokes into life and when he doesn't. You have to be careful of this whole idea of conditioning. Is that if every time you do something wrong, there would be a little electric zap. And every time you did anything good, you would get a little jolt of pleasure. We would soon be performing for the pleasure and try to avoid the pain. Not for God, not because it made sense to us, but because we have been conditioned by these stimuli. And Deuteronomy can kind of talk like that in 28, where it says, if you'll just obey me, I will make you the head and not the tail, the top and not the bottom. Your barns will be full, you'll owe nobody. But if you disobey, these curses will fall on you. I think we have to understand these blessings and cursings are the intrinsic blessings from following God. Did the promises work? When God says, if you'll just do this, Moses begs them before he dies, if you'll just do this, I'll do this for you. 50 years later, they have forgotten God. They're worshiping other gods and idols. God is gone. Even when they had these overt conditioning type promises. Number 2, Matthew 5:43-48 is very clear. God says the sun and the rain on the just and the unjust. God is a constant. It turns out God doesn't play exactly fair. God sends the same sun and rain on everybody. He blesses his enemies. That's what he says. Love your enemies. He does it too. Doesn't pick and choose the winners and the losers of who he's going to do. And he tells a story about these people. Some people come at 8 in the morning to work, and some at noon, and some at 4 o'clock, and he pays them all the same at the end of the day. And our sense of justice says, that's just not right. That's not right, God. You work harder, you get paid more, you should be blessed more. And God just slices through that and says there is no connection between what you do and my blessing of God. Now, if you do good, you will have blessings, but it will not affect the heart of God to give you more or take away less from his side. Blessing is by grace, just as much as salvation is by grace. The idea that we're saved by grace but blessed by works is wrong and eats away at the core and purity of the gospel. Everything from God is by grace, by grace, by grace. That's what it is. In fact, he says, whatever you give up to me, I'll make it up 100 to 1. What's fair about that? There is no connection between what you give up for me and what I give to you. It's 100 to 1. There's no equivalency here. 100 to 1. Les Miserables. Maybe you've had a chance to see it or see the movie or read the book. Jean Valjean is a prisoner, the thief. Been in prison for 20 years. He gets out. No one will let him work. No one will give him a place to stay because he's an ex-con. Finally, the bishop lets him stay in there, and here's silver everywhere. Bishop's asleep. He's a thief. Before the night is out, he can't help himself. He takes the silver, puts it in the bag, and he's gone. A few hours later, the police come, and here's Jean Valjean. And he said, we caught this man with the silver from your house. He says, you gave it to him. He said, yes. And you forgot the candlesticks. And he hands the candlesticks to him. It's not true. It's not true. And we say that's not right. He did not deserve that. He did not deserve forgiveness. We don't bless thieves. Shouldn't have done that. Get him in trouble, get your stuff back, and send him to jail and let him rot in jail. Instead, the bishop blesses him with even more. The extravagance of God's grace. God blesses his enemies. He blesses all. Your behavior and your performance has nothing to do with his blessing. He just blesses. He doesn't go by your resume. He doesn't go by your passport. He doesn't go by what the angels have written down on the record books of heaven. It's by grace. So what good does it do to be a Christian then? Is it worth it to be a Christian? What's the whole point? If it doesn't change anything because you're a Christian, he's blessing everybody the same, then why be a Christian? You're going to get the same either way. We would just want to say, yes, it's true. God does the sunlight and the rain on everybody. Jesus died for everybody. He offers heaven to everybody. That's what he does. That's who God is. What makes Christianity different from all the other world religions. And if I can just nail this point down, God is not the variable. He's not picking in the winners and the losers. He's not being preferential. He doesn't put a hedge only around my father because he was good. Blessings come by grace, and they are not earned by grace. If you want to have more blessing, then you are the variable. You need to go where God is pouring out the sunshine. If God is putting out sun and rain, then go where God is, and God is doing something, and say, let me be more where God is. Be in the sunlight. As you are where God is, you will get more. If you want more music, you download the music. It's sitting there in your iPod, iPhone. What will make the difference whether you get to hear it or not? You turn it up in your ears. God has downloaded the music. He is a constant. He is pouring out blessings every day. He is whispering to you how to maximize your life all day, every day. Learn to listen. Be in the sunlight where you can hear God's voice. I told my son the other day, he's looking to hear God's voice. Spend more time where God is speaking. Tune out the other noise. Turn off the noise and listen. Be still before God without any preconditions and see what God will do. He'll bless you. But you are the variable deciding how much of God you will listen to, not God. Water is coming from the city. It is coming with the same force to every pipe, to every faucet, and every house. The difference in the amount of water that comes into the house is how much you turn the faucet on. We are the variable, not God. I was going to do a series of meetings in Chicago one time. I guess my wife told somebody, I don't know why this happened, but anyway, she told me later, she thinks that's what happened. She felt bad because I was going to preach this big series and didn't have a new suit. All my suits were old and threadbare. So this friend sent me secretly to Nordstrom. Nordstrom called me. I went to Nordstrom's and they filled out this whole suit. Had I done anything good in order to get that suit? No, I did not. But that elder was listening to the voice of God. And I was blessed and got to preach in my meetings with a new suit. Variables on our side. I have used these two words for years, externally and internally. Externally, God's blessings are indiscriminate. They are on everybody. Nothing you can do to get more of those blessings from God. You can't be good in order to get more. They are by grace. And God blesses in the sun and the rain. And if you are with God, God is pouring out love and grace. And you live in a world where there is bad gene pool or there is bad air. There's random chances. But it's not differential based on the heart and will of God. God wills good for all. God saves everyone. God sends the Holy Spirit to all. He gives forgiveness to all. That's what we believe. And it's all by grace. It's never earned. The blessings are internal. The difference between people who receive more and don't are those who turn the faucet, who turn the music on, who decide to turn everything off and get quiet before God. And then the blessings come. When you ask God to bless you, when you go eat, I don't think God reaches into the food and turns off the sugar and the cholesterol producing food. Where he will bless you is when you pray before you go through the grocery and you pick out what you want and you choose your recipes and you order food. That's where God will bless you so that you will choose well. Listen to the voice of God. I was in India at the end of every sermon, a couple thousand young people there from the college. Whole group, mostly girls, would gather around me afterward, put their little sari over their head, want me to bless them and pray for their test. What do you want me to pray for? For our test. I said, when's your test? Last week. What do you want God to do? Go into the teacher's office and manipulate the answers? No. You needed to pray before the test that God would help you so that you would do the test well and bring things back to your mind. God is blessing all the time. It has nothing to do with what you have ever done, are doing, or will ever do for him. God is blessing it the same all day, all night, everywhere around the world to everybody. God never changes. That's the way it is. Well, we got to wrap this up quickly. Some of you have heard the famous story. General Conference Associate Treasurer back in the Depression all of a sudden got the urge to go to New York from Washington, D.C., took the train up there, moved a bunch of money out of one fund into cash, and then sent it to the divisions all over the world. 3 months' worth of salaries for all over the world. Didn't know why he did it, didn't no reason to do it, against policy to do it, but he did it. Next morning, came back home, heard the newspaper, read all about it. Roosevelt closes all the banks. The General Conference called the meeting that Saturday night, said, what are we going to do? What about our missionaries? I already sent enough money for 3 months. Saved the missionaries' lives. Listening to God. God didn't control the financial system. He impressed a treasurer who did what needed to be done. God is blessing all the time. We turn on the blessing, how much you want to have in your life. Salvation is by grace alone. He died for the sins of the whole world. Whosoever believeth in him. One man's life and death brought life to us all. God's blessings have nothing to do with any of it. It is all by grace through Jesus Christ. Saving Private Ryan, a movie that's got a lot of violence. I haven't watched it all through, and you shouldn't. But at the end, when Tom Hanks gives his life for this young man, he's going to live, but the sergeant's going to die. He grabbed him by the ear and he said, you better earn this. You better use the life that I've just won for you to do something with it. Aren't you thankful that Jesus doesn't say that? He just says, here it is. I give it to you by grace. Use it for the glory of God. Never says earn it. We're saved by grace and blessed by grace. This is God Talk. Come back next week.